They're crooked.
Oh,
Guys,
wow.
Yeah,
it's crooked.
we can't see anyways, so
It's good.
No one needs to see.
nobody needs to know. You gotta make it good.
Dude, I like this music you got going on here.
Alright, I'm gonna take this off now before people actually see it. The internet is
mainly,
forever. Teach your kids
I've
that.
been moving stuff around so much that I didn't get to have the Star Wars music tonight because I couldn't find my cord.
So you're telling me you didn't do your job? Like literally the only job you have?
The only job I have. For all
Only
those
job you
watching,
have.
You
the only
had
job I have.
one
One
job.
job. One job, and he can't even do
You
it.
had one job.
I mean, at least he shows up though. So, you know, I'll give him that. I'm not gonna say he's not showing up.
Hey. Let's go. Yeah.
Actually, I like that one.
What's
Right, I got
going
the
on?
Mando's ready to go.
That's
He's just hiding out over there. Watch out,
right.
Mando.
Watch out.
So I see we have the A team today. Just the 4 real core members.
Justin, I miss you.
I don't.
Miss
I'm
you,
still
Justin.
I'm still pushing to replace him. If you guys would like to apply, send an email to Jared, the hostess with the mostest, or the most hostess ghostess.
The most
And,
hostess, ghostest.
The most hostess
Yeah.
ghostess. Send him an email and let him know. And we're taking applications to replace our wayward son.
Our wayward son. Oh my gosh.
No, it's time.
Justin, I'm sorry. This has nothing to do
Nobody's-
with anything.
Nobody's sorry. Nobody's sorry. Also, I want to put a plug in for dots. If you want to sponsor me, I'm your guy. Hit me up. I'll get a tattoo, little dot, wherever you want it. Let me know.
You'll put a tattoo of dots all over your body.
Wherever you want it. If you want to send me free dots, I'll get you a tattoo.
You want to get sponsored by Dots?
I do.
Well, let's tag dots in this, and we'll see what happens.
Yeah, I need someone to take care of that for me.
Dude.
I'll get a dot face tattoo, like little tears. They'll just be dots.
Dots is old people candy.
You know,
Ooh.
those are fighting words. Hey,
It's already started.
Uncle Joan, can you run that thing for me?
Oh.
Can you run that thing for me?
Yeah.
Yeah, go ahead and do that for me.
Okay.
Yeah.
Where's it at?
Uncle Joan's about to speak truth.
Where's it at? Oops. Why isn't it working?
Oh my god.
Oh, there it is.
There it is. There it is.
Glad Ahmad isn't here.
Yeah, I don't see anybody named Ahmad here.
Me neither. Let me show you how that just missed me. Just missed me. You know what I'm saying?
Here, let's go the other way with it. We're in America.
Hey,
we
Justin.
read right to left.
Justin, since you're not here, I'm sure you're going to watch this. This is a life lesson for you, okay? Do
What
or do
happened to
not.
your
There is
eyes?
no try.
You missed me.
It's quality.
You missed me.
That's it.
So, now that we're got that out of the way,
It's a good start.
we are the Marauders, and we are on episode 17. We just rolling these things out.
That's right.
I think Justin's been in 4 of them. All right, I'm done.
Shut it.
I'm done.
Shut it,
Poor
Yes.
Justin.
Let's do this.
Justin. I am ready for you to be back. It's nice
I'm
when you're
too.
here. So, anyways, we are the Marauders. Everybody, introduce yourself. Go for it.
What's going on? I am R2 Ace 2, aka Ace Kennedy, and I'm here for you. All things Star Wars.
I'm here for you. I like that. Are you here for me specifically? I feel like you are. I'm Shane, otherwise known as C3PP. So take that however you want to. I don't know what it means. These things are weird sometimes.
There's only 2 people laughing right now. That is Joey,
Love it.
Uncle Joan, and Justin.
Right.
Justin's not laughing. He's probably still frustrated.
Go
Yep.
for it. Last
Come
one.
on, Joan.
Uncle Joan here, aka Joey Wall, and I'm here to buy some droids. That's what I'm here to do.
It's on buy some droids.
Again, I don't know that that's a good look.
And protect my son or my illegitimate.
Hey, It's Mrs. R2 Ace 2.
Dang, holla.
Hey, what? There we go.
There you go.
Hey.
Throw it in there.
Is this her first time watching the podcast?
I don't
No,
know, but
'cause-
this droid needs some oil.
Do that again? What was that?
This droid needs some oil.
Don't know where to go with that. Anyways. And I am
We
Jared,
already starting out.
Balance-
the,
balance in the
the
floor.
most hostess ghostess. As you can see, the light in my room is like always so ridiculous. One day I'll fix that. Anyways, so real quick, let's hit our sponsor, Sonic. Sonic, cover up C3PP over there.
Man, I actually ate Sonic the other day. I'm on keto, not keto, but keto because I made it my own. And but anyway, that was amazing, Joe.
Was that a kid?
Yeah, that was awesome.
It's like time out, Joey. Where'd that come from?
I didn't know if that was Sparkle Cam or what, but anyway, basically, I had that extra long cheese coney, but without the bun, and it was good.
Did you get it
That's
with
different.
like with all the chili and stuff?
Yeah,
They put it in the little bowl thingy they give you.
that's it.
I like it.
So it'll be
So
like chili cheese tater tots, but for the dog.
That's right.
Kind of.
so I have to say,
Shut up.
I got yelled at last week because I was talking about missing happy hour, and you told me the app you get half price drinks with the app at any time.
Anytime.
I can confirm that does work. So, thank you, Sonic, for half price
So-
drinks.
And right now, you probably can't see it. Today is 99-cent medium chili cheese tots or fries.
Dang.
And that's the app. You can see if I was to swipe through there, I have like today, yesterday, July 4th twice, July 2nd, June 30th.
Man.
What a
I
man!
have been I have been sonicking up this last
You
couple
cannot
of
go
weeks.
wrong with half price drinks.
I
No.
got 2 today.
What's going on, medic? Good to see you.
How are you, medic? We're taking applications.
Anyways.
Do you want to submit one? You could be the front runner.
But you're always invited on here if you want to jump in.
There is a permanent position potentially opening. So
Stop. We want Justin, come back. We need you. There you go. Kick C3PP out of here.
See you later. Now we got another spot.
Just a dyad now. Triad. Sorry, my bad.
I was like, time out.
Let's
Time out.
Okay, so first thing, Ahmad or R2 Ace 2.
What's up?
I'm not gonna remember that. I'm just gonna say Ace.
Ace is fine.
Okay, so you were talking about Mandalorian before we got on.
Yeah.
What were you thinking on that? What was going on?
Well, typically outside of, The Last Jedi, one of the best movies in Star Wars, they did a time jump through the other series. And so I was trying to see if when the second season picks up, are we going to get a time jump or are they going to pick up where we left off? That's kind of the question. I want to see what you guys think about that.
Who wants to go first?
I mean, are we going to acknowledge your stupid comment? I mean, no, not the best movie of all time, or even a good movie. Just a subpar piece of junk. But that's fine.
Well, CP33, whatever your name is, if you would have listened, I said
Hey,
one of the best
Hey,
movies.
Uncle Joan, can you run that text for me? Let's remind the viewers.
How many texts do you got going on here?
Let's remind the viewers. Yeah, here's the word of the day or the phrase of the day.
Too bad Ahmad isn't here.
I don't know. See, thank you, Michelle. I agree with you.
That's probably not Michelle. That's probably my son. He's
Either
a-
way, he's right. So he's right. I don't know if we'll see a time jump. It's interesting because I haven't given it a lot of thought. Like
When
it
you
did.
when you say time, what do you mean? Like, what would how much time would be considered a time jump?
A year. A lot
Okay,
can
a
change
year.
in a year.
No, for sure. Okay. So do you think we're going to see a year into it?
No, I'm asking. That's the question I'm asking.
Yeah.
You think we will?
I mean, sorry, go ahead, Shane.
No, good. I mean,
Yeah, let's start with Shane. Shane, give us an
okay,
opinion.
so they paid $4 million for the puppet. So unless they can make the puppet look a year older, I don't think we're going to see a time jump. I mean, I don't see them building a new puppet. Like, I'm just being honest with you. I mean, Baby Yoda is the star of the show. So, in season 2, I think there's going to be a lot of Baby Yoda. So unless like he doesn't age that much, I don't think we'll see a really noticeable time jump.
I don't think he's gonna age that much. He'll only be 51, so I think he'll be straight.
I don't know.
yeah,
I don't know how much they grow in a year. I mean, I'm just saying. Like, I feel like it'll be a little bit in the future, but I don't think it'll be much.
I mean, regular Yoda is to your knees, and he's 900.
I was about to say,
So
you're talking about he's going from this.
I think he's
to
gonna
like
be okay
this.
to for a
Look,
year.
guys, I don't know. I don't know. Okay, that's all I'm saying. Is like if the puppet is going to look the exact same a year older, then there may be. But I think we'll see a small time jump. I don't think it'll be big. I think it'll be a few months down the road.
He has a hard problem with sizes. That's the problem.
I'm not even going to touch your stupidity. Okay, I'm not going to do it.
What you think, Joseph?
I think we will. I mean, just because I think it's a normal typical thing for second season, third season, fourth. You know how you do. People get bigger or smaller or grow up or get older. You notice that stuff, and so a lot of times they kind of just make the story like a little more in advance. Now with Yoda, we're not going to have a problem with that because the puppet is going to look the same no matter what. I think maybe we'll start getting to a point where we'll see him actually walking around without his. Well, we did in the last one too. I guess he was out of his little cage, his carriage, whatever it was. But no, I definitely think we're going to see a time jump and see them like in the future from at least about a year or so into it of what's going on. Them looking for stuff, trying to find where Yoda's from. I don't think you're necessarily going to pick right where we left off.
Right.
With the dark saber coming out, and then you're just like right there.
Do you think that it's gonna make it? This is the last question, Mandalorian, that I have. You sparked something. Do you think that now that Mando's bounty is lifted, that he'd be able to move around a little bit quicker, or do you think people will still be after him because he has Baby Yoda?
Yeah, I mean, I think obviously the remnants of the Empire, whatever it is that we're looking at, they want him. And if anybody who knows who that is, they're definitely going to want him too. So I think he's still going to have to be very cautious about where he moves and how he moves for sure. I think that's just going to be part of it going forward.
I think where we left off, it had a feeling of like we're about to go to a deeper space area, we'll go more outer rim maybe, and because I know that we were told at some point, or it was leaked, that we were supposed to find out a little bit more about that race of Yoda and the child. So I think we're gonna go deeper into that, and I think I'm thinking we're gonna time jump maybe 5 years. I think we're gonna go a little further out than that.
Okay.
And then so he's hiding at this point, I think, with the child. And then that's when we come up with what's his name? The new Imperial guy. Anybody remember?
Moff Gideon.
So I think he is gonna end up finding them, or we're gonna see that. What was that?
I'm just sorry.
Don't even put that comment on the screen.
Don't put that on the screen.
Don't pay attention.
Sorry, that caught me a little off guard.
Sorry, Charles.
Huh.
Yeah, sorry, man. That sucks.
Yeah, we might get rid of that one.
Yeah.
Anyways, so I think we're gonna have a small time jump with that, and I think we're gonna actually see more of that cat and mouse kind of game with what's going on. I think that's where also we're gonna be dropping in like the Ahsoka stuff with Rex and things like that.
Yeah.
Wait, my thinking was he's supposed to be taking Baby Yoda home, right, to his own species. So obviously that, like you said, that'll be the push of the series going forward. And I could see, him going places, trying to figure out, what species he is, or learn what he can about him. So I think that could be where they lead into running into more of Ahsoka and stuff like that. But he's got to still be hunted. With the rumor of Boba Fett being in there. I mean, like I feel like they're still going to be hunting him. And I don't know if it's necessarily hunting Mando or if they're hunting Baby Yoda, which it's kind of one or the other. Because if you're hunting Baby Yoda, you're hunting Mando. So I don't know. That's why I don't see a big jump in the future. Like, maybe a few months or something like that. He's on a planet somewhere. Maybe it's when he gets his first piece of information. That's when the series picks up. I don't know. I'm curious to see, though. I hadn't given that a lot of thought, so it'll be interesting to see where they started.
I'm pretty interested myself in seeing what's going on with that. So, anyways. So, on to the next thing. So, we're going to talk about some of the historical references that George Lucas had kind of put into these movies. If you guys are down with that.
Yeah, no, I want to hear it.
So we're gonna throw some of these up here. So, get my screen up. We're gonna start with the first thing, which is the actual stormtroopers themselves. So before I even say, what do you guys think that this was based on? I mean, we got a picture next to it.
Well, I don't know necessarily this picture, but we know that all the Empire stuff was really based on Nazi Germany. A lot of that stuff.
Right. Yeah. These
far
were
as
just
yeah,
specialized German soldiers. So that was some of that.
Yeah, even when you look at like even the First Order and how everybody's uniforms were really pressed and how their hair was slicked back and everything was, and even in some of the books that Shane and I read, they talk about like how crisp a uniform has to be. It definitely gives you that whole feel of the German army that was ran by that one guy.
Yeah,
right, and we'll get to that because there's actually a picture with that. So the New Order was actually based off of something else, but we'll talk about that in a second. So here's the next one. The Jedi Order. What would you think this is based off of, since you don't have an extra picture to look at?
Like some knights.
Samurai.
Maybe Knights Templar. Samurai would make more sense.
King Arthur.
Oh yeah, I could definitely see that, Joey.
That is pretty much exactly right on. It was the Japanese samurais, because obviously George Lucas liked samurai movies. So
yes.
that had a lot of basis on that, because we've seen that with the what was it, the
Mandalorian,
the gallery stuff, where they talked about that, and it was also based off of old knights, stuff like that. So here's our next one. Let me get over to it. So this is Emperor Palpatine. Before I put it up, because it has an actual picture with it, who do you think Palpatine was loosely based on?
Palpatine?
Palpatine, yeah.
Are we not going to get the picture with this one first?
I don't want to show you yet because it gives it on this one.
I don't want to say Adolf, but
that would be my guess.
It's loosely based on a lot of those things like that, but there's one specific, and I never would have guessed that. It was of Richard Nixon.
That's funny.
Yeah, I never would have guessed that. Ever.
So this is let's see where.
That's
it had to do because of the Vietnam War at that time.
Yeah.
With Nixon trying to run it for a second term, and it says which got me to thinking historically about how did democracies get turned into dictatorships, because the democracies aren't overthrown, they're given away, and so they based it off of Nixon with that.
Interesting.
This is George Lucas's words, by the way. This isn't like
you're not just coming up with random stuff.
Yeah, I'm not coming up with random stuff. These are actual lines.
That's a whole nother podcast.
That's a couple of podcasts.
Let's just come up with random crap. Emperor is based off of the Smurfs, Papa Smurf.
Smurf. Okay.
That's what you do after
let's
you
see.
smoke a lot.
Okay, so the next one. Let's go here. What do you think this one would be based?
The United Nations.
Nope. This would be.
You didn't ever give me the Knights Templar thing going on with the. You said it was going to give it away. Never mind. Go ahead. You never you never showed the
which one?
picture to correspond with the Jedi.
There wasn't one to correspond with that. I didn't have anything
okay.
on it.
Well, that's
Yeah.
whatever. Lame.
Yeah, lame.
I mean, the obvious thing would be the Senate, but I mean, obviously our Senate doesn't look like that.
It's the Senate of like Colosseum Roman stuff.
Oh, yeah,
okay.
yeah.
Of
All right.
ancient Rome.
That makes more sense.
Gotcha.
Okay, so this is going to be given away right off. Okay, so we got pod racing. Where do you think pod racing came from before I click it?
NASCAR.
NASCAR.
Oh, well, there you go. Roman
okay.
Coliseum. Yeah, we're still in the
Chariots?
same vein.
Yeah.
Yeah, the chariots,
So that was
What a good movie that is, Ben-Hur. I just want to throw that out there.
dude. Ben-Hur is awesome. Yeah.
What a good movie.
Yes, absolutely. Grew up watching Ben-Hur.
Okay, here's the next one. We already talked about this,
Yeah,
but
Nazi.
it was modeled after the Third Reich, obviously.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah,
was
that
a
makes
pretty easy one.
that makes sense.
So here's the one, the First Order. What do you think the First Order was actually?
It was off of
based
the
off of-
Empire. The Empire. They're just a copy of the Empire. It's a really lame. It's a really lame empire. The First Order is.
These were actually based off of like the Loyalists after the fall of Germany. There was supposedly a rebuilt that they were trying to reorganize in South America.
Now, this didn't come from George Lucas, though.
This one I don't know. This one is
Yeah, because he didn't have anything to do with the First Order.
no. This was
He didn't have anything
where's
to
the
do with
quote?
that crappy new trilogy, huh, Shane?
Well, I mean, yeah, his writing was on it.
this
Probably would have been a
this
little bit better.
was this was JJ that said this one. That was JJ 100%.
JJ's trying to be as cool as George Lucas. Okay, I got it. Keep going.
Okay,
Yeah.
so here's the next one.
Darth Maul. I think I know this one. What is it? It's okay, I lost it.
I mean, I got absolutely nothing. So
This was based off of like Hindu and pagan stuff with the devil.
I mean, the devil would
The
make
devil,
sense.
yeah.
The devil makes sense.
Because
Okay.
now that you say that, I think they talked about this in the gallery too. I think Feige, not Feige, Dave Filoni said something about this, like George making him so that you knew like this was the bad guy. There was no denying who the bad guy was in this because he wanted.
Yeah.
Because this is when he was talking about the Duel of Fates, remember? And he was like,
Yeah.
it was a battle for all of Star Wars right at the beginning of Episode 1 with, Qui-Gon and the evil guy. So, yeah, that makes sense that he based it that way.
So okay. So here's the next one.
Sorry.
No, that was
get
good,
excited.
'cause I didn't have
Get
anything.
excited when we talk about Dave Filoni.
That's who he based semi-based Anakin off
Huh.
of. And I
This one,
Oh,
so this is what he this he says, as you go through history, I didn't think it was going to get quite this close, so it's just one of those reoccurring things.
I mean, I don't see this one.
When I wrote it, Iraq didn't exist, but the parallels between what we did in Vietnam and what we're doing in Iraq are unbelievable. So basically, I don't know how he got to it, but that's what he chose.
all right.
So yeah, I mean, they kind of
Hey. Yeah.
it kind of freaks you out actually when you look at it.
It's interesting.
Like this. Okay, so cute and cuddly.
Oh yes, the Ewoks. We should do a whole podcast about the Ewoks.
My wife would like that.
There were supposed to be Wookiees, right? But they didn't have enough of the budget to make that many Wookiees, so they made tiny
I
Wookiees.
actually didn't know that.
So
That sounds right.
that's why in episode 3 we went to Kashyyyk, the planet of the Wookiees, because that's what George always wanted to do. And in Return of the Jedi, it was originally supposed to be the planet of the Wookiees, but they didn't have. I don't know if it was the budget or the fabric. They could not make the Wookiees, so they made Ewoks.
Give me another
That's-
name besides Wicket.
I mean, dude, I'm not an Ewok guy. They're tiny little bears that beat
I'm
the
just trying to
Empire.
remember. I would know it if you said it, but I'm just trying to remember.
There's
I just always can remember Wicket.
Lolum, something.
Okay.
It starts with an L. I
There you
should
go.
know this because our first RPG I did off of King something. I can't think of his name right now.
Can we talk about how sad it is for the Empire
yeah.
that the Ewoks brought them down? Like, guys, I mean, what's that say
Okay.
about the Empire and Palpatine that he didn't have the foresight
Chir-
to know that
Chirpa.
the Ewoks? Chirpa?
Chief
Chirpa.
Chirpa. That's it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Tebow.
Count on Michelle to know.
That's my son. I'm telling you. So yeah. So who do you think these are based off of?
Teddy
It's
Ruxpin.
Stuffed animals?
Look like yeah.
Teddy Ruxpin.
It's a child-friendly version of something. I mean,
Care Bears?
we've talked about. Actually, it's about the Viet Cong.
Oh,
It was a child-friendly version of that.
okay. I wouldn't have got that. It's not where my brain went.
Well, because it's like basically jungle type setting.
And they defeat the larger army. So,
Probably. I mean, that's what I would do.
makes sense.
Okay, here's the next one. We only got 2 more.
Here's what I thought it was right here. Teddy
Now,
Ruxpin.
this wasn't Lucas, so
You got
be
it.
curious on this one.
Oh,
Yeah, this wasn't Luke. This wasn't Lucas on this one.
Ben Franklin.
Some sort of freedom fighter?
Ben Franklin.
Well, I mean, he
Or Einstein.
I mean, obviously he came up with the whole Death Star comment of destroying something huge. So, well, it was the Manhattan Project.
Oh, okay. Oppenheimer?
Oppenheimer. Yes.
Okay.
That's who that he.
That would make sense because he was a
This was
scientist and then he
based off of-
regretted his decision, or he regretted making it. I mean, that makes sense.
Okay, last one, and I had no idea about this one. What do you think on this?
look at those buns, hun. She's got nice buns. Am I not right?
It's not the one that Shane would probably like to have up here.
Shane, come on.
But you've never once
Leia's
heard me say
mom.
something negative about Princess Leia.
Come on, Leia's buns.
Never.
You know you love them.
I mean, I love me some Princess Leia. So
Nothing like her buns, son.
I miss Carrie Fisher.
So this is what Lucas said about this. I went with a kind of southwestern Pancho Villa woman. Revolutionary look is what this is. And the buns are basically from turn of the century Mexico.
Yeah, I see it.
So you can't. I couldn't see that.
You can here.
Yeah, I mean, I wouldn't have gotten most of these.
I wouldn't have either. That's why I thought, hey, let's take a look at these. Okay. Did you have something you're going to pull up, Joey?
Maybe if I can find something. Let's see. I'm looking. Don't wait for me. Just keep.
Okay. Let's keep on. Okay. So that was the last one of that. She's my favorite. I think that's everybody's favorite.
I mean, she's my 1B. So it's Padme all the way, guys. I'm sorry. Padme. Padme.
Okay, so let's move on to the next thing. How Palpatine came back without anybody knowing especially Luke. I mean, I guess at this point, Luke's really the only person left that can feel this stuff. But how do you think that happened? Anybody want to talk about that?
What was the question again?
So the Emperor obviously came back, and how do we think that happened?
Well, I mean, are you gonna tell us the story, or do we just want to?
I want you to just kind of talk about it, and then we'll put out what the book talked about.
So obviously, we know that Palpatine was a master at hiding what he was. So he was also he was also always looking into the future. Like he always had contingency plans. We see that especially throughout the books. He always like when he went in Return of the Jedi, when he went onto the Death Star, he knew that there was a possibility where he could die, so he made contingencies for that. Where he sent Sloane out with her fleet away from the rest of the fleet. We also know that he had what are called observatories, and I don't know exactly how many they were, but they were all over the galaxy, the known and the unknown, and all of them had different purposes. So inside of those observatories, there was like Sith artifacts, there were different relics, things like that, but there was also were they Sentinels? They were droids that had like a clear screen on their head, and basically that screen was Palpatine's face. So I don't know exactly, like I don't know the lore of the Sentinels, so I don't know if they're like just programmed or if they're embedded with a piece of him or something. But when he died, like basically the Sentinels activated from the observatories, and the Sentinels went to different areas in the Sith fleet, and they talked to different members of the remaining Empire, and they enacted Operation Cinder, which was Palpatine's plan to basically purge the galaxy, purge them of the rebels and purge them of the failed Empire, and from the ashes, essentially a new order would rise. And I'm guessing he called it the Final Order, in that terrible writing in Episode 9. So I'm thinking, obviously he knew he was going to be cloned, and part of the Sentinels' duty was to go to Exegol and I guess start the cloning process with all the millions of people that happen to just be Sith followers hidden on a random planet. So my thinking is obviously he knew there was a possibility Luke wouldn't turn and that he would lose that fight. So when the Sentinel program activated and Operation Cinder activated, that also activated his cloning. He was a master at hiding his aura. So basically, he just hid his aura until Episode 9 got rid.
Well, those Sentinel droids were implanted with his thoughts.
Right, right. So was it programmed, or did he implant part of himself? Like, did he imprint?
No. I just think they were programmed. I mean, You got to understand, like the whole point of having those clones in Attack of the Clones was him trying to learn how to do the cloning process. That was his thought process on how to basically remain alive, beat cheating death, basically. And then with implanting those chips in each clone, that's also, I think, the way that he was able to program the Sentinel droids so that they had his likeness. And so, yeah, that's my thought process on it.
The lore behind the observatories and the ones that Palpatine found and the things that he established, like I mean, that could be a whole book series in itself. And I know it's mentioned in the Aftermath series a little heavily. It's mentioned in the newer book, Shadows Fall, which is a series I'm trying to get Ace to read. It deals with the Alphabet Squadron, but it deals heavily with Operation Cinder. That's kind of the whole linchpin that the series rotates around. So it's pretty interesting because you do get a little bit of interaction with the Sentinels. You see them come to the different commanders in the fleet, and I think there's one or two of them that it mentions. But it's interesting to see Palpatine's plan. And anytime they mention the observatories, I get excited because when Palpatine became or started the Senate, I mean that's when he started this. Long before he ever became Chancellor, he was building the observatories and he was amassing relics and things like that. So right under the Jedi's nose. So he knew more about the Sith, probably more than anyone other than Bane, or if you go back to the original era of the Sith. I mean, it's just really interesting to see. And I'm hoping that, as they give us a little bit more about the observatories, like this would be a neat thing for them to dive deep into, because I would like to know what Palpatine found. And we only know what a few of the observatories did, but the lore on those are so cool. And that's where I say, the Sith would never die, because, we don't know if they all got destroyed. So it's an easy avenue to have a force sensitive stumble on one and get turned. So I don't know. I get really excited when you start talking observatories and sentinels. And Palpatine was, obviously he was evil and all that, but he was also brilliant. They wrote him so well. So I don't know. I could ramble for days. I'm sorry.
Yeah. If you look back, they threw the book out, but there was actually a book. It's a legend now, but where after Return of the Jedi, he already had the observatory set up, but it was like a big long thing of himself cloned in that room, if I remember right. Anyways, wasn't it? Do you remember reading that, Shane?
I'd have to know the name of the book.
I don't remember it off the top of my head, but I'm pretty sure it was like a whole room, and he actually battles the Emperor again in that book. And so basically his whole aura basically went to this place. I don't know how that actually happened. It was a Legends book, so they wrote whatever they wanted to on a lot of
we kind of gloss over how they got his aura to Exegol, and that's why I don't know if when he died, if his spirit traveled there. That's a whole. I don't know how they're going to spin that, but somehow his aura got to Exegol, and he knew Exegol existed, because he had to have started that fleet. He couldn't have started that fleet. I don't know. It confuses the heck out of me.
Well, we know what they're going to do. They're basically getting rid of the last trilogy, and they're going to redo it.
They're not going to do that. They're not going to do that.
Ace just shut himself.
He's just done.
He's done.
I do think it's interesting how crazy the internet has blown up over that. Like, there has been so many things on there about it.
And it's not even like it was just last week. It's like this week they're still posting Kathleen Kennedy's going to be she's given up and she's going to do her own directing stuff. And then we're going to wipe this out again, and it's been held on to. People have grabbed onto that, and it's like they want this to happen.
Yeah, I just thought it was interesting how much steam it actually picked up. But yeah,
it's the only reason people are really talking about it. It's really nothing else going on in Star Wars at the moment.
Exactly.
You know what I'm saying? When they're talking about Ludwig's about to score the second season of The Mandalorian, like, bro, that's not even news. That's just literally throwing something out there. But the other part of that article was talking about how come nobody knew that Palpatine was still alive, or that he was still plotting stuff in the background. And I think that's a pretty simple answer. when Palpatine was living, the whole Jedi Order didn't even know he was the Dark Lord of the Sith. So like, that was pretty easy that nobody would figure that out.
He was face to face with some of the most powerful Jedi in existence, with Yoda and Mace and Qui-Gon. He's face to face. He's interacting with them on a daily basis,
and none of them sensed it.
None of them. None of them. So that he was a master at manipulation and hiding his aura, and he was so good. Such an interesting character.
If Luke could turn himself off from the Force, I'm pretty sure Palps know how to turn it on and off.
Well, from what I had read, I haven't seen everything that goes on with this, but they've put out a comic that actually kind of starts answering some of this, and they brought back the whole Sentinel thing, which you guys have read with the aftermath. And so basically the Sentinels, once he died, they all did whatever they were supposed to do, and they went out and started destroying all these places that he had built so that they could conceal what he was doing. So It's not like it wasn't Luke didn't find it like he did in the Legends book. And so you guys obviously kind of answered some of that already.
Yeah,
but then
so the Sentinel droid. Yeah, go ahead. Sorry, I apologize.
The Sentinel droids actually started pulling in what was left of the followers and moving them all to Exegol to start what they were supposed to do.
Well, the only way that they can start really explaining how he got that large of an army to Exegol would have to be kind of what they started in the Aftermath series, where after his death, there was a contingency for them to go to the Outer Rim.
Yep.
So, you know, that part, okay, I can give them that. But I mean, obviously, there's a lot of holes still, and you know, I'm gonna speak this until I have no more breath. That I think that they can still resurrect the last trilogy by the stuff that they plug in. So that's the way they're going to be able to do it.
Yeah, I mean, we know it's canon that Rey took a fleet, or not, good lord, Admiral Sloane took a fleet into the unknown regions. So, I mean, I'm guessing we're all just supposed to assume that she went to Exegol and they started building the Final Order at that point. Because, I mean, to have that many ships and have as many millions of troopers and all that stuff that they had, like, they had to have started either before he died or the second he died, you know, when Sloane went out there.
Yeah, and that was the thing. You remember, I can't even think of his name. Gallius Rax.
Yes, Hux is dead.
Yeah, no, not Hux's dad.
No?
Hux's dad was the guy that they went to rescue. Gallius Rax was the dude who we thought was Snoke, the way they was writing him in the book.
Oh, you know, you're right.
He was the little kid that snuck on that ship.
Yes.
But anyway, Gallius Rax put together a sub order of people of fleet commanders, and so there was a couple of ships that they had already taken out there. So that could, and we don't know how far in advance. I mean, that would have been enough time to start building those ships in Exegol. So that much makes sense. I can give them that.
Because Rax, I mean, what Rax was originally from Jakku. That's where Palpatine found him when he snuck on, and he was the one that guarded the building of the observatory on Jakku. Right. And then once he got a little older and the observatory was finished, that's when Palpatine brought him in, and he basically told him that you're my contingency plan. And he was supposed to go to the Outer Rim, not Sloane. But obviously, you know, that's the Aftermath series. So
yeah. And then, of course, you know, that was why his record was nobody knew anything about Gallius.
Yeah. And that's why it was such a big surprise when he just appeared after Palpatine died and he took over the fleet. And everybody's like, who is this guy?
Right. Yeah. But he knew everything.
I never read those books, so I wouldn't have known that. Yeah.
The Aftermath series it's so good.
Yeah, it's got a lot. I mean, especially because you learn about Han and Leia. You find out about the Wexleys. It's a lot going on in there, man, and it's some great books. I personally did not read book 1 because I heard it was not as good, but I'm telling you, 2 and 3 in that series, I've read them twice.
I've read them all because, you know, I've got to read them all. And I book 1 is nothing great, but don't give up because book 2 and 3 are just amazing. Some of the best stuff that's been written in the modern Star Wars.
So, kind of switching on, we'll stay with Palpatine, but what do you think Vader or Anakin Vader, however you want to do that at that point, why do you think he never tried to kill the Emperor?
I think that was pretty simple. I think he was always trying to prove himself because, you know, they had an interesting relationship because the whole beginning of their relationship was based upon the fact of him saving Padme. So then once Padme died, the thing is that then it's like, okay, I'm Vader now. And, you know, Palpatine could sense that he still had thoughts of Anakin. Then, of course, his body was malfunctioning because of the suit. So he was constantly trying to prove himself. Palps knew his struggles, and Palpatine wanted him to kill him. I mean, that's the thing, you know, from the whole rule of 2 with the apprentice always trying to destroy the master. That's a thing for the Sith. And so that relationship constantly happened, but he also loved Palpatine too, because for some reason he still felt like he owed him something.
Yeah, I mean, he's the dad he never had. I mean, he was, you know, he's a miracle baby. So he never had a dad, you know, and the first dad he gets dies.
Miracle baby.
Yeah, I mean, you know, the first dad he has in Qui-Gon dies right away. So, you know, and then Palpatine takes him under his wing and basically grooms him, like raises him, knowing what he's going to do with him in the future. And then when he does turn, there's always that attachment there. And obviously there's hate. We see it in the Master and Apprentice book. Like there are times where Palpatine says, like take your saber and strike me down. And he's like, no, I would never do that. And he's conflicted, but the conflict is there, but I don't think he was ever strong enough to beat Palpatine. We see Palpatine, he did lose to Mace, but for the most part, Palpatine was powerful. And Vader wasn't focused on becoming the master, especially in the beginning. He still did try and resurrect Padme. That's why he built the thing on Mustafar, his temple. He actually contacted Padme in the whatever they call it, in the realm where the dead are. But he couldn't bring her over. And so I think he was always distracted. There was always other things going on. And I don't think he had the drive to become the master, especially in the beginning, and maybe later, but by then it didn't matter because, then Luke comes into the scene and he senses him. And at that point he's focused on his son, and, he got Palpatine trying to get him to convert. And I think that's really the only time he maybe considered overthrowing Palpatine, is maybe when him and Luke would have ruled the galaxy, but we don't really see that because obviously they wrap that up pretty quick with him going down the shaft. So I don't know. It's a pretty interesting thought, but they just weren't together that long. 30 years isn't that long in the span of the Sith.
Well, I think part of it too is about Palpatine saved his life. He's the one that got him off of Mustafar. And not only that, he was never really strong enough. Like, Vader spent a lot of time trying to get used to his body, spending that time in the bapta tank, trying to constantly forge himself with, and he just could never really get that thing right. And then the rest of the time was Palpatine, scolding him like, bro, you're not, I might have to replace you because you're not loyal enough. You can't get stuff done. Like those comic stories are all out there, and I don't know if the Force Unleashed story is canon or not, but that's another time where Vader was setting up to try to take Palps over.
Yeah, that's what I was gonna say. Do we even know that he didn't try? And then the other deal, I think you hit it too, Shane, where you just basically said, like, I don't think his whole deal was like to be the most powerful Sith. Like he just wanted to be powerful enough to raise Padme back. That's all he was focused on. And so where normally Sith were like, I want to be in charge and controlling everything, I don't think he really cared as much about it.
Joey, what you just said makes perfect sense because of the fact that was his whole motivation to go Sith anyway. He wanted to save Padme. And even for those of us that have played the Vader Immortal, there's things in there that hint towards that as well. So, I do believe that his focus was never to really have ultimate power. It wasn't until later on, like you said, when Luke came around, it was like a possibility of like, okay, I want to have my family since I can't have Padme. Let me have my son. Like, so I think you hit the nail on the head there, Joey.
But again, he maybe did try. We don't know if he didn't try. Maybe there's just not a story out yet of him trying.
Yeah, and we can
go ahead.
There is some fan stuff out there where I know the Star Wars theory guy which everybody should watch, Star Wars Theory. He made a Vader episode that's amazing, really good, where Vader basically, I don't want to give too much of it away, but basically he tries to kill Palpatine. It's awesome. You should watch it.
So it's like a good add-on to like how Obi-Wan and Vader fought kind of thing.
He's working on his next episode, but it's pretty insane how much money he put, his own money, to do this stuff. But it's really good.
That's pretty awesome. Shane, what were you going to say?
Yeah, there's an interesting dynamic. Was it the Master? Which is the Vader and the Palpatine book? Ace?
Lords of the Sith.
Yes, Lords of the Sith. So there's an interesting dynamic there, and you can tell that Palpatine doesn't really trust him. And I don't know that Palpatine ever really grew to trust Vader completely. And in most of the books, Palpatine is off doing his own thing, and Vader's off doing his orders. So, there may not have been a whole lot of opportunity for Vader to plot. Obviously, I'm sure he thought about it. But it seems to me like Palpatine always kept him at arm's length. Vader didn't always know all the things that Palpatine had working. And And I think that's, what we see in the Sith dynamic with the rule of two is there's the master, and then there's the one that always wants to be the master. And you don't get to be the master until you kill him. And you just don't see that drive. If you read, and it's not canon, but if you read the Bane books and a lot of the Old Republic stuff where they really dive into the dynamic of the master and the apprentice, you see that like the whole goal of the apprentice is to surpass the master, learn everything you can, and then when you feel like you've done it, you strike him down, or you die in the attempt, and then they start over and get a new apprentice. And you don't see that dynamic with Vader and Palpatine.
You know what? Now that we've been talking about this, we know how much of a manipulator that Palpatine was, and even going further into the new trilogy where we saw what Palpatine was doing to Kylo, I wouldn't be surprised if Palpatine was the one putting those thoughts in Vader's minds about him struggling to be Anakin again, because he knew he could sense all of that stuff. We, like you said, in Lords of the Sith, he knew when he was thinking about, like, I was here before, but I was Anakin before, and now I'm here as Vader. Like, he knew those thoughts, and I think he put those thoughts in his head because, again, that made Vader want to prove to Palpatine more that, no, this is where I want to be. I don't want to go back. I want to be here under you. I want to learn. I want to get as powerful as I can. Like, I think that was Palpatine putting that stuff in his head.
And Palpatine pushed him. Palpatine gave him time to go and to build. He gave him the resources to build his thing on Mustafar, his temple, and he knew what he was doing down there. And I think it's in the comics, but he mentions like Palpatine gets frustrated with him. Like, have you attempted it yet? Because he fails multiple times, almost destroys the planet. He fails multiple times, and Palpatine gets frustrated with him. And Palpatine basically tells him, like, hey, we got other things to do. You need to hurry up. So, I mean, I could see that. Palpatine didn't want him focused on becoming the master. Because, I mean, Vader could have surpassed him. I mean, I think Anakin surpasses him, maybe not easily, but quickly if he doesn't become Vader. But that's another thing for another day. Yeah. So, I like that, Joey. Joan, sorry.
The force is strong.
Sorry, Joey.
Distracting for sure.
I'm spoken. I'm done.
So, I know there's not like a ton of talk right now just because of what's with everything going on. But Joey, is there anything you want to hit while we're here? Is there anything off the top of your head? No. Okay. Quick question then to Shane. Shane, what is the lifespan of a Sith? Since there's only two, do you know what the lifespan is?
Well, okay, so
because I know that it's about 30 years, right? 30 or 40 years after Return of the Jedi. Do we have kind of a guesstimation?
I think it's about 30 years, 35 years, if I remember right.
It looks, I mean, Luke looks about 30 or 40 years older, so he could have learned a lot in 40 years. The Emperor could have.
Yeah, and so
wherever he was at.
So the lifespan really depended on the species, because some of the species live longer, and then not a lot of this, like the Sith in general, weren't focused on longevity. Most of them were only focused on power. Palpatine's master really focused on longevity, and they're changing the canon on that. So I'm not entirely sure how that's going to work out. Palpatine knew things that others didn't. So I firmly believe that Palpatine could have lived a whole lot longer, and with the cloning and stuff like that, I think that was his ultimate purpose, was to gain life, not using the midichlorians and not manipulating, but basically to transfer his essence. And there were in the old Sith, the ancient Sith, there were some Sith masters who actually could drain the Force out of people, put it in themselves, and essentially live forever. It's mentioned a few different times.
We've seen the Force drain. That happened.
Yes. So basically, they would suck the life energy out of someone, and then they would take it, and that would extend their life. I mean, basically, just think Force vampires. So there was some of that in the past, but with the rule of two, I mean, their longevity was basically as long as you could still beat your apprentice, because that's how most of the Sith masters die. Is the apprentice kills them, and there's your new master. It's not a real longevity based system. So.
The other thing too is, I mean, we saw that when you have the ability of the Force from a Sith's perspective, it does eat away your body. So they had to drain other force powers in order to sustain them. Because if you notice, like especially when their eyes start to yellow, they start to look older. They look very old because that ability to want more power, your human essence or your body life form could not absorb that type of power. Yep. I mean, you even look at Kylo, and I mean, I know y'all don't like The Last Jedi, but I'm saying when his eyes turned yellow, he started to look older, like, and that it just really wears on you to be a Sith.
Now, I don't think Palpatine would have looked as bad as he did if he hadn't gotten burned with mace. So we don't know how much Palpatine would have aged, but obviously the fight with Mace, I mean, ultimately probably would have killed Palpatine if he hadn't cloned himself, because basically his body was destroyed. And I mean, he lived through it, but I think he lived through it because of the dark side. I mean, he basically just electrocuted himself for that whole period of time, and we see it in his face and his scars and stuff like that. So I think that's what caused him to really, really progress so rapidly with the decay. But you do see that in like Ace said, you see that in a lot of the more powerful Sith users. They will age, and depending on your species and stuff like that. So,
and I think that's exactly why he was having such a hard time cloning itself, because you're trying to put a Sith essence into another life form, and it couldn't hold it. It couldn't hold it. He was deteriorating.
And they mentioned that when they talked to the Camino cloners early, and I forget which book series it is, but they talked to the Camino cloners before they started to clone the clone army, and they said, like, they asked them, "Can you clone Force users?" And she says that they've never had success with Force users. So I think, like you said, that's why Palpatine had to do so much research, because you can't clone the Force in somebody. So you can't get the midichlorian. I don't think you can tweak that. So he had to find a way to manipulate that to where the midichlorians in the body would be able to support such a powerful user. And I think that's why we see, even with the poor writing in Episode 9, that's why we see he's hooked up to all those machines and stuff. Like, it's bad. But I mean, he's hooked up to all the machines and stuff because a cloned body can't hold that amount of midichlorians. You can't clone midichlorians. So, he had to manipulate it, and that's why the body's decayed. So much more than the normal one.
I liked how quick you just kind of threw that in there. You didn't it was like those jokes that you tell. The funniest jokes are the ones that somebody says, and you just say it and you just go on and just see if somebody picks it up.
Well, there's so much potential. I'm not going to get into this, but there's so much potential to really get into the meat and potatoes of the cloning and the midichlorians, and we just pretend like, oh, he did it, and he has these big machines because it looks fancy. But like you get into the lore behind it, some of what Ace said and stuff, and you can't just clone a Force user that's been established. So I just feel like sometimes we take the easy way out and we just say, oh, he's a clone, but how?
He was definitely falling apart in Rise of Skywalker, though.
Yeah,
he had that huge machine carrying him around just so he can.
But it takes 2 seconds to tell us why he's decaying. It takes 2 seconds to tell us that he's a clone and how he came back. To me, it's basic plot writing. I mean,
would you be satisfied though? Would you really be?
I mean, honestly, yes. Those were a few of the biggest issues I had. Is guys, this is lazy writing. Tell us how and tell us why. But we don't need to go there. Come on, Uncle Joe, and I mean, back me up on this. It's lazy writing.
It's bad. Oh, the writing's awful. I mean, I know Ahmad don't like JJ's writing either.
We almost went the whole podcast without this coming up.
Well, no, here's the thing. I think the easy fix for Rise of Skywalker would have just been making it 2 movies. I think, 100%. I think Endgame and Infinity War proved that would have been a better route to go, especially when you're ending a saga. So that's my only criticism of JJ today.
And you get 4.5 hours, 5 hours to really give us all of the backstory, and I think it would have been so good for that film.
I'd be okay with that, Bonnie.
Me too.
And, I think that's what Ace has been pushing for. Yeah,
100%. I'm done with it.
I'm done with that era. Let's just move on.
But I'm ready for some guys. We got a ton of Star Wars stuff in the pipeline, and I'm so excited. High Republic.
I'm excited what Dave Filoni's doing. More than excited with everything Dave's doing. Yeah, I'm excited to see what happens out of the High Republic, and let's see what else comes next. Get that fly, Mod. You almost got it,
bro. I promise y'all.
I see Mr. Miyagi with some chopsticks.
I'm having some real problems with this fly, bro. This is not even cool. This fly is a Sith, bro. Because I've slapped him 3 times already, and he is still kicking. This is Palpatine fly, bro.
Here's what we need to do, Shane, right here. Oh, we can't. It's too blurry. We need to play with these dice.
I'm down.
We
I'm
need
down.
to
It's been way too long
100%. I'm
with
ready to go.
with the R word floating around. It may be a little while. So
We do it online, dude. Come on. You act
Yeah.
like you don't live in the 2020.
Right
I'm
now
with-
it's like I don't know
100%
what
with you,
we're living
Bonnie.
in.
yeah, it's
This is
yeah.
this is like 1920s.
2021 in. That's all I know.
Okay, guys, we'll wrap this up. Love
Wrap.
you guys. Thank you all for watching us just talk about Star Wars. That's what we love to do.
Let's
So-
pray. Let's pray for some good news this week sometime. Give us some more to talk about.
Yeah. We need some good news. Or we're,
If
or
it
we
stays
have
this, if it stays this slow, we're definitely playing Star Wars, guys. Come on.
And remember to submit those applications to the most hostess ghostess if you would like to be the 5th on our podcast, since we have permanently lost a man. So
Justin, I'm still rooting for you.
submit
Come
those
back.
applications. Justin can submit an application too, but I don't know with that track record.
Anyways, we love you guys. Thanks for joining us, and we will see you next week, 7:30. And if you have any questions, drop them in these comments, and we will check those out, and we'll talk about them next week.
Every
See you
week,
guys.
Please ask questions. Please
Please ask questions.
please.
ask questions.